Hello and welcome to the Expanse Abridged Podcast series. Today we've got chapter 39, which is a Holden chapter of the first book in the series, Leviathan Weeks. So we've hung out with the boys for quite a while now. We're really getting through the book, and we've had zombies. Then they went back to Tycho Station. They kind of refueled. They regrouped. We said goodbye to Miller, kind of briefly. He's not on this ship anymore. He's leading the assault. And our boys, they're going after Toff Station, wherever it is, where the protogen kind of nutters and psychopaths have been doing their strange sciences. And the plan was we're going to go get them. And we join, as the Rocinante is approaching them. So at the moment, they've turned off all the electronics, etc. on the spaceship, and it's just hurtling towards this station like a rock. And it's completely indistinguishable because all the electricity and heat signatures are completely off. And they've issued and they're travelling next to the Guy Molinari, he's actually a New York's representative, but pretty unremarkable. But that is a cargo ship full of the OPA soldiers who are going to take the station by a ground assault. Well, so it's still a ground assault if it's in space, but yeah, they're going to walk inside, knock on the door, and kill everybody. And the plan is they've done a big warning sign saying, "Shit, we've dropped some cargo, we're chasing it down." And that cargo is Rocinante, and the Guy Molinari is trying to be a cargo ship. And the idea is that hopefully the station won't shoot down either the Rocinante itself or the Guy Molinari straight away, because there's supposed to be a secret station and they don't want to give their location away. And equally, they won't be looking very hard because it's supposed to be hidden. And if they were scanning radar or anything, people would find it. So the idea is they'll just think it's a rock, and they just won't figure it out. I think we kind of discussed a plan for a bit. It's all in Holden's narrative in his head, and he's saying there's loads of things that could go wrong. And but if it did, Holden realises he would never realise it. The Rossi was flying blind. All radio contact was down. Alex had a mechanical timepiece with a glow-in-the-dark face and to the second schedule memorised. Holden had once dated a Buddhist who said that death was merely a different state of being, and people only feared the unknown that lay behind that transition. Death without warning was preferable as it removed all fear. He felt he now had the counter-argument. And yeah, so they're hurtling towards it, nothing, they're shitting themselves a bit. And once they get a bit closer, they're going to turn the engines on, go surprise, and try and destroy both the stealth ship that is lurking above the station and the kind of radars on it. And then when the Marines land, they'll try and take it, and Holden's talking about they probably have the worst job because you're attacking a place where there's no cover, the enemy knows the area, and you're waiting to get ambushed. Yeah, what really worries him, as mentioned, is the stealth ship, which is says it's floating a few dozen meters above Toff Station, a slightly warmer than space area. And the idea is they think they should be able to kill it because they're going to pop out of nowhere last minute, really close, and shoot it down. And stealth ships are kind of more strategic weapons and tactical, so it'll be really slow and unorganised because it's designed to ambush people rather than engage in a dogfight, is the play. So the ship turns on. That's kind of the premise, all the foreplay, and now I get to the juice. It's a proper space fight. We've been reading or listening to a space opera for nearly a year now, and now we're getting to some proper good space fights again, after we've had the Donager, 6 months ago now it must be? So anyway, right, they get on the juice. So the juice, obviously, as we learned all that time ago, is the stims that keep you awake during a space fight, and it makes Holden's balls crawled up into his belly, his skin went tight and hot. And then they immediately turn on the engine, and 1,000 kilos sat on Holden's chest and rumbled like a laughing giant as the Rossi's engine slammed on the brakes at 10 Gs. Amos managed to part of a curse before his jaw clamped shut. And the ship starts kind of shuddering everywhere, even though Holden can't hear it because there's no air at the moment. And as they're getting closer and closer, they turn on the engine, all the sensors are coming on, and they realise floating above the station, instead of one large stealth ship, is actually two smaller ones, which is far more scary because they're not going to be manoeuvrable. They'll be good in a dogfight, which is the opposite of what they wanted. Holden goes, there were two ships, not one large and ungainly missile frigate that they could dance around and cut to pieces. No, that would have been too easy. There were two much smaller ships parked close enough to each other to trick enemy sensors. They have to change their plan, thinking they can't kill that. They're like, right, we just need to get their attention and keep them away from the cargo ship. And they start throwing torpedoes at each other, and all the kind of lasers and chaff to try and disguise each other. Alex is going that they're new hull designs. They haven't even seen these guys before, but they're flying like fast interceptors, guessing a torpedo or two on the belly and a keel-mounted railgun. So faster and more manoeuvrable than the Rocinante, but they don't be able to fire in one direction. Then all of a sudden the ship kind of jumps to the right, and they've been shot by a big cannon, a Gauss cannon, which is the standard cannon in any sci-fi. It's gone straight through the galley and the machine shop, got yellows on the board, but nothing that would kill us. Nothing that would kill us sounded good, but Holden felt a pang for his coffee maker. Forget the little ships, let's kill the comm. So now they go, right, shit, if the station's shooting at us with a gun, that can probably take out the cargo ship, so we're going to attack them, turn off their radar, then we'll kill the little boys, or the little fellas. And they move in towards the station, they have to dance about the station, shooting them back. He kind of Holden looks at the defence panels. His panel filled with thousands of rapidly moving balls of light, and Thoth Station rotating in the background. The Rossi's threat computer was outlining the incoming point defence cannon fire with bright light on Alex's HUD. To Holden, it looked like a game. Incredibly fast blobs of light flew up from the space station in chains, like long and thin pearl necklaces. The ship moved restlessly, finding the gaps between the threads and dodging away to a new gap before the strands could react and touch her. But Holden knew that each bob of light represented a chunk of Teflon-coated tungsten steel with a depleted uranium heart going thousands of meters per second. If Alex lost the game, they'd know it when the Rocinante was cut to pieces. As they're kind of dancing around that, getting closer to the station, because they're going to get close and throw some torpedoes, Amos notices a water leak, and he's got to go fix the pressures. Fix her thruster. He's loaded the thrusters to shoot little bits of like superheated water out, and he's got to go fix a pipe. So they're kind of going there. Alex is having to dance between all these things. Amos is climbing around inside the ship, bracing himself. They're getting closer and closer, and eventually they fire a missile. It manages just to keep through at the last minute, take out the comm station. All the PDC fire falls dark. Alex doesn't have a little game to play. And just as that happens, obviously, because this is a good novel, Bogey 1 is fired. Two fast movers start moving in, and Alex has to make the ship dance again. It's got to get its move on. Amos is getting thrown about inside the ships. He's like cracked a rib basically, and he's got stuff flying around. Holden's like, Naomi's begging him to get back to his crash couch. She's like, sorry boss. Amos replied with a grunt as he yanked one end of the broken pipe free. If I don't fix this and we lose pressure, Alex won't be able to turn starboard anymore, and that'll fuck us up good. Holden, Naomi said. There was fear in her voice. Amos is gonna get... He's doing his job. Do yours, said Holden. So he's laying down the law, and it's that classic thing where because they are a family, makes it more difficult when they fight, because they care about each other in a way that kind of just colleagues or crewmates wouldn't. Even Holden's starting to beg him, like, at least strap the pipe down. Amos is like, look, I know what I'm doing. Safety stand's gonna kiss my ass. I'm getting this done fast and getting out of here. Alex is making them fly around, dance around. Naomi's doing all the gun shooting, and they start kind of flying at one of the enemy spaceships straight at each other. So you get close enough and fast enough, you can throw a torpedo and you can't shoot it down. They kind of do that. Alex is waiting. He's kind of being careful with the torpedoes. He's going to shoot his torpedo down, then getting close and chew him up. Holden's like, Alex kind of reasons we've only got so many torpedoes, no resupply, no call to waste them on these munchkins. The incoming torpedoes arced forward in Holden's display, and he felt the Rossi's PDCs firing to shoot them down. Alex, he said, we didn't pay for this ship. Feel free to use it up. If I get killed so you can save ammo, I'm going to put a reprimand on your permanent file. And then a load of missiles fly out. And then a red dot of their torpedo streaked off towards Bogey 2. The incoming missiles got closer and closer, and then one disappeared from the display. Alex said shit in a flat voice, and then the Rocinante slammed sideways hard enough that Holden broke his nose on the inside of his helmet. When it came back up, all three torpedoes as well as Bogey 2 were gone. Bogey 1 continued to bear down on them from astern. So they take out one ship, but major damage to the outer hull. They've lost a load of guns and stuff like that. Amos is still fine, but just a bit bruised. And they manage to shoot down the missile, but obviously they get so close, the shrapnel still rakes the outside of the ship, and scratch all the paintwork. So now they've got Bogey 1 coming down from behind. It fired its torpedoes, so it can't. They're going to shoot those down, but it's still got its gun. So he's Holden starts doing the good captain move of Alex, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. And the enemy ship kind of flared open, preparing to fire. Because the Rocinante can barely turn around, so it's throwing torpedoes out, but it's trying to turn around and manoeuvre, but it's so damaged. The Rossi's torpedo flew towards the fighter at almost the same instant that the fighter opened up its cannon. The display showed the incoming rounds of small red dots moving too fast to follow. Income, he shouted, and then the Rocinante came apart around him. Then Holden came too, so he passed out the rest of the team. And he's got memories of like the table flying around, hitting him in the stomach, and things flying off the walls. And there's no air, he can't hear anything, but you can just feel the damage around him. Holden looked at the hole in the chair and the matching hole. So he's looking at Naomi's chair where all the goo's leaking out of, but obviously she's fine. So Holden looked at the hole in the chair and the matching hole in the bulkhead across the room and realised that the round must have passed within centimetres of her leg. It should have swept through him, leaving him nauseated at its wake. Alex, Holden said, still ear-capped, the pilot replied, his voice eerily calm. My panel's dead, Holden said. Did we kill that son of a bitch? Yeah, Cap, he's dead. About half a dozen of his rounds actually hit the Rossi. Looks like they went through us, bow to stern. The anti-spalling on the webbing of the bulkheads really kept the shrapnel down, didn't it? Alex's voice had started shaking. He meant we should all be dead. So remember, you do remember Alex? It was ages ago when they first found the blue goo, when they found Julie Mao. He fucking lost it. While in space, when he's more as an element, he can really keep his cool a bit more, which is quite a nice, I think, dynamic with that. And then Amos is still calm as fuck anyway. He'll do whatever. And you see Naomi kind of being that, I guess, I don't want to say mother figure, because that kind of is quite demeaning to female characters, but you can see at points she was caring about Amos getting damaged, etc. Holden's kicking up, still taking charge. And he rings up our favourite guy, Fred. He rings up Fred, says, Fredo answers the call and goes, Guy Molinari here, glad you guys are still alive. Roger that, begin your rung. Let us know where we can limp over to one of the station's docks. Roger, Fred replied. We'll find you a nice place to land. Fred out. Holden pulled the quick release on his chair restraints and floated towards the ceiling, his body limp. Okay, Miller, your turn. Chapter ends. So a good one, that bit exciting. It's nice seeing the space fight. Obviously none of our good boys die, because it's a good book. But you see the damage that has happened, like, and how quick it is. Because you see, like, things will happen so quickly when things are travelling at, like, thousands of miles an hour through space, that they'll be running at each other and all of a sudden, like, bam, everyone's unconscious, something's happened. And there's an element of chance, and also like, the fact that they're in, like, that high-end Martian gear keeps them alive. But it's interesting the way, I think, particularly space is kind of dealt with in the Expanse series more generally, how you can have periods of things taking ages because it's so large, like so much of the book is just people travelling point to point, or like time and taking weeks to do anything. But then when it comes to combat and you're close to somebody, the speed really hits differently, because you'll be like just flying past each other, something will happen, and so much of it is based on like the equipment and reactions, all kind of, yeah. I think it's a really interesting way of dealing with kind of the way space affects how people do operate. Like some things are stretched out, obviously, and then other things become even quicker all of a sudden. So yeah. So anyway, our boys are good, and then next chapter we're going to see Miller taking the place on foot and jetpack and by whatever he does. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you have a lovely week.